This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante, coming to you, recording live during the day portion of the day-night doubleheader necessitated by the rain out on Wednesday night during Rangers Lightning Game 1. Very helpful. Helpful rain out for some of us who wanted to go watch the New York Rangers win 6-2 in the opener. Not sure how many of these games are going to be played. Not sure how long this first one's going to be played. A lot of weather in the forecast. But for now, you can watch Nestor Cortez face Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. He struck out Trout in the first. He just got Ohtani to pop out. 2-2 pitch coming to Trout. Live intro. And it's ball three, actually bad framing by Jose Trevino, who we are going to talk about because this series is 1 game old, should be 2. We're just going to have a little chat with all of y'all to talk about game 1 of this series. Trevino dominating again, taking over the narrative, sliding in a home like no one else has ever slid in a home with a run I still can't believe counted, even nearly 48 hours later. Trout just walked. And the Joey Gallo comfort factor in right field, plus Matt Carpenter. We got to talk about all these very important Yankees developments, as well as Josh Donaldson, who for some reason was the only player talking on Wednesday night during the pre-rainout festivities and just sort of held court for a while, even though he's on the injured list rehabbing a sore shoulder. Not sure why that happened, but he was a little upset that his teammates did not have his back. That's a shame. Folks, make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review. Drop us a mailbag question in that review, and we will be more than happy to answer it. Thomas Carannante, welcome into the pod. Shohei Ohtani on the mound so far, looking a little iffy, but still throwing 100 miles an hour. The Yankees took the statement first game of this series that they needed to. Now it would be very nice to at least split this doubleheader against the Angels, who are struggling on the mound as of late. These doubleheaders, though, that last one we had against the White Sox, not so great. So probably need to get off on a better foot today.
Yeah. Didn't even realize the win the other night for the Yankees dished the Angels their 6th straight loss.
Yeah.
People are talking about how awesome, how entertaining, how good the Angels are. They're 5.5 games back of the Astros in the AL West. I'm not saying it's over, but like the Astros are never going anywhere, and the Angels have nothing to do. They have everything to prove is what I mean. You can't just be like, oh, the Angels are good this year. That's great. The Angels have not been good for a very long time, despite having these star players on the roster, having Mike Trout for as long as they have, various other big signings that have come through there. So down 2-0 already. And the Astros recovered nicely. They were on a 6-game road trip. They started that off 0-2. They recovered to go 4-2. They had that 9th inning win yesterday against the A's, which was unreal. They scored 4 runs in the 9th. So yeah, let's chill the discourse around the Angels. I do like the roster that they have. Now they have runners on first and second. Shit.
Yes, they do.
But yeah, 9-1 the other night. That was a national audience game, was on TBS, right? And Yankees brought it from the first inning, wire to wire, whipped Noah Syndergaard, which was kind of funny. I don't know why it was funny. I kind of like Noah Syndergaard, and he's pitched in New York for a while, and he was supposed to be a Yankee. But all the shit talking he's done since leaving, I think Mets fans were even glad to kind of see that happen. They don't really like him anymore. But yeah, whole all-around effort. The only person without a hit in the lineup that night, somehow Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
It
was actually pretty sad. It's perhaps time for him to retire.
Not 9-1 victory. Jordan Montgomery was great. He got more than his legally mandated amount of runs, Adam, which is very important to note. He got more than 2 runs of support, and he only gave up 1 across 7 innings. Very efficient, 87 pitches. Even though the cushion was large, I think Aaron Boone learned his lesson. You don't bring out Jordan Montgomery for more than an inning that you have to. You could have tweaked. You could have convinced yourself to bring him out for the 8th. Maybe he gets through efficiently, is still under 100 pitches. But you go to Miguel Castro, finish it off with our guy David McKay, great player.
D. McKay.
Great player, great guy. And now we're here. We got a doubleheader. Yankees.
We're out of the inning. We're out of the inning, folks.
We're out of the inning. Beautiful. So the threat is over. Yankees up 2-0. Matt Carpenter again. Gleyber Torres again. I think it's important to talk about these two guys. What do you think?
I think it's important to talk about these two guys as well. I could talk about Matt Carpenter forever. The first at-bat of this game against Ohtani. And you talk about, Ohtani, the pitcher, we've only seen, I actually don't remember if we saw him in like 2018 before he was officially like a phenomenon. But Ohtani, the pitcher, during his MVP campaign, we only saw him once last year, and the Yankees rocked him. 7 earned runs in under an inning. Now, that was a game that would go on to be remembered for much different and terrible reasons, because it lasted till 2 a.m. and Aroldis Chapman blew it at the very last possible second. But the Yankees destroyed Ohtani in that game. Matt Carpenter, notably, of course, not a member of the Yankees team that destroyed Ohtani in that game. So even if you think the Yankees have his number or whatnot, which they obviously don't, great pitchers have bad games, et cetera, Matt Carpenter starts this game with just a refusal to swing and miss. An 11 pitch at bat, might have been 12, tons of fouls, tons of hard hit balls foul. And then how often do you sort of, those at bats become a footnote, and you try to like proselytize the case of like, no, it was a great at bat. If he strikes out, it's just like, okay, it's a great at bat and ended a strikeout. Who cares? You'll be like, no, it was wonderful. And you're like, no, it ended with an out. So who actually cares about that? Carpenter destroyed a baseball into the right field seats, deep in a right field, barely kept it fair, wrapped it around the pole. He's got 3 hits as a Yankee so far. They've all left the yard, and he is leading off this freaky lineup today. And I love it. Like, why not try that? The Yankees are at a point where you can just sort of look in the mirror and go, yeah, try that. Why not? You got a weird idea, you just go ahead and try it. They are 34-15, and they really needed the win in the opener and got it. And they really needed to punch Ohtani first in this game, and they did. Gleyber Torres also went yard later in that inning. Every ball in that inning was scalded. It was Carpenter gone, Judge up the middle, hard hit grounder single. Finally getting off the schneid, no DFA, I guess. And then Anthony Rizzo rocketed a line drive that turned into a double play. And then the very next batter, Gleyber Torres, first pitch, 10th homer of the year, over the short porch into the normal seats on the short porch. Would have been a homer. I'm not going to check the would it dong account because I don't check that religiously, but I bet it would have donged in most places. And Gleyber Torres, who slugged 360 last year, now leads all second basemen in home runs. He's got 10. That's unbelievable. He's hitting strikes hard, I guess. Through this Judge at bat, he just took strike 2, by the way. So now here we are in the bottom of the third. The Yankees don't have a swing and miss in 41 pitches against Shohei Ohtani. Now, I'm sure that's about to break. I'm going to keep talking until this pitch is delivered. Oh, no, not yet. So we're at 42 pitches now, no swings and misses. They basically did the same thing to Syndergaard the other day. And with half a lineup, right? Marwin Gonzalez is playing today. Matt Carpenter, who we know and love, like isn't exactly the guy who was intended to start this season. We saw them go down to Tampa, and we made excuses for splitting that series and said, look at the lineups they're running out. How could they possibly XYZ? And they come out and bludgeon Noah Syndergaard and win that game 9-1. And now here they are. The streak continues. Foul one off. He's throwing between 97 and 100. No swings and misses in the bottom of the third. It's a great effort.
God, that Carpenter bomb I watched it again. It's just aesthetically pleasing.
Very aesthetically pleasing.
Wrapped around the pole, second deck.
I'll take some hits from Matt Carpenter that aren't home runs, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. He had a chance to, with runners in scoring position last inning, to add to the lead. He didn't do it. Single there I would have enjoyed. Marwin got jammed with second and third one out, looped one to the infield. Aaron Judge has left the yard.
Wow.
Let
us go. All of us rise.
The kind of home run that only he hits. Took a little looper in the middle of the plate and deposited it from 405 feet with a 109.9 exit velo to left. That looked like it might be a line drive fly out, and it just carried 405 feet.
Would it dong? Would it dong elsewhere?
Blues. Would it dong? Would that one potentially have donged?
Two things that I thought of with Carpenter and Torres. First with Carpenter, we had talked about Carpenter potentially becoming a Yankee for 3 years.
Yeah.
Since 2019, that's when the decline began for him. 2018, he finished top 10 in the MVP voting, and then there was a big drop-off.
Yeah.
226 average, 92 OPS. The year before it was 257, 143 OPS plus. And then it got even worse. 2020, shortened season, obviously, but 186 average, 79 OPS plus. 2021, played in 130 games, and the Cardinals allowed this to go on for 130 games. 169 average, 581 OPS, 3 homers, 63 OPS plus. Absolutely out of this world. I can't believe it lasted as long as it did. And kind of ever since, throughout this time period, he's been on a quest to discover his old swing. I don't know what happened with the mechanics in between. People go through weird things. Nonetheless, very funny because we've always talked, hey, Matt Carpenter, throw him in the middle of the Yankees lineup. We always talk about it. Throwing somebody in the middle of the Yankees lineup is very different than throwing them in the middle of any other lineup. The Yankees have very good hitters. Whether they're producing or not, they're still providing a ton of stress on the opposing pitcher. Whether they have to pitch around somebody or whether they have to worry about, someone like Stanton who does slump terribly, but then the pitcher's like, okay, fuck, when is he breaking out of this slump? Because it could come right now when the bases are loaded and he could hit one 500 feet off of me. And interestingly enough, we get Carpenter in his age 36 season where you think he wouldn't even matter anymore. And we're seeing the results already, and it's not in a stacked Yankees lineup. So clearly he's made the necessary tweaks to kind of get back to where he needs to be. Yeah. And the results right now are awesome. I know coming into this game, he was hitting 154, but his OPS was a 928, and his OPS plus was a 163. Yeah.
I love it. I wish somebody would have told me about the swing adjustments. Like when we were talking about Matt Carpenter earlier this offseason, and it was just sort of an open and shut case where it was like, what about Matt Carpenter? Oh, he's been legit dreadful for 3 years. Okay. In that case, I won't be interested in Matt Carpenter. Thank you. It's like when I was talking about Paul DeYoung. I was like, what about Paul DeYoung? And people were like, he can't hit or field, and he's expensive. And I was like, well, that's it for me. Goodbye. It felt like the same thing for Matt Carpenter. It's like, have we considered Matt Carpenter? And then it's like, oh, look at the stats. They're all, they read washed. It's like you translate his batting average, OPS plus, and home run numbers. You Google translate it, and it comes back just like career over. And then in-depth story that says he and Joey Votto are on this desperate search to remake his swing, and there's still homers in there. People were saying Jose Trevino told the John Boy guys when he visited the office that Carpenter has 15 to 20 homers still left in his bat. He's already hit 3 this season, not forever. I mean, that would be a spooky proclamation from Jose Trevino. I don't know why you just say that unprompted. It's like I think Matt Carpenter's life will be over in 15 to 20 homers. What are you talking about? But he still has that trademark pop. And then you look at Gleyber Torres, who is from a certain inflection point, basically from that walk-off hit in the Guardians game, is treating every at-bat with the same calmness, just hitting oppo bombs constantly, pulling bombs, ripped one the other day. And in the Monday game, it almost looked for a second like he was down for the count. He got not spiked, but stepped on. He got his shoulder caught in a slide and was writhing around on the ground. And for those of us who saw Miguel Andujar tear his shoulder capsule doing way less than that, just sliding into the bag slightly weird. It didn't even look injured. And then all of a sudden he's out for the year. The writhing, I don't know about you. I didn't love the writhing. And he didn't leave that game. He made an athletic play up the middle. And then here he is today going yard again against, once again, this is Shohei Ohtani on the mound. No scrubs.
Yeah. My biggest thing with Gleyber now is I'm wondering if the Yankees kind of forced him into shortstop, or if he never said anything about him not wanting to play shortstop, or if the Yankees just said, too bad, you're playing shortstop. Because you look at these splits and it's obvious. I know in 2019, he played more than half of his games at shortstop when Didi was out from Tommy John. But the results weren't there. His fielding percentage was .961, which is not great. He made 11 errors in 77 games. Like, you knew it was bad. Then again, he made 9 errors at second base in 65 games. So that wasn't that great either. But you saw that he was maybe more comfortable at the plate because he had a certain amount of reps at second base. His rookie year, he played 109 at second and 21 at shortstop. And then you have 77 at short in 2019, 65 at second. And then you have the shortened 2020 season, mostly shortstop. And then last year, mostly shortstop before the Yankees decided to pull the plug in September. But with the return to second base, or at least with less of an emphasis on shortstop, you're seeing a difference in his approach altogether. The patience, the pitch selection, the aggressiveness, the willingness to wait on pitches, and he's more relaxed. So we were harsh on Gleyber Torres. I was harsh on Gleyber Torres. I don't take any of it back because he was given a role and he failed miserably at it.
He just went into the gap again. Speaking of the devil,
great swing. And I just wonder, were there conversations there? Was this talked about at length? Because then you have Cashman coming out and saying he didn't come in shape, like weird discourse about that. And then he has a weird response to it. So are the Yankees not communicating properly with certain players who they're asking to do a lot? I don't know. It's something worth wondering because everybody was mad at Gleyber Torres for these last 2 years, which very much held the Yankees back. Among other things, other aspects of the roster held this team back. But Gleyber Torres, contributing a 1.2 WAR over the course of the 2020 and 2021 seasons, that's not getting the Yankees where they need to be. They don't need 38-homer Gleyber Torres, but they need a non-detrimental Gleyber Torres. They need someone who's not negatively impacting every day on the field. So just some food for thought, folks. You wonder if the Yankees are talking you knew Didi was a guy. I'm not endorsing re-signing Didi for the amount of money, that he landed on with the Phillies, but they had good chemistry. The production was there. Gleyber liked second base. I don't know. I wonder sometimes what would happen if we just re-signed Didi, ran it back, and what would this team have done in the shortened 2020 and last year when they fell one game short of hosting the wild card game. So I don't really want to think about that because I like the way the Yankees are performing right now. But you just look at Gleyber's turnaround, and it's been so tremendous, and it's been actually fun to watch. I feel good for him. I feel shitty about myself having criticized him as much as I did. That also makes me feel good because I enjoy being wrong. But yeah, I can't get those thoughts out of my head.
It's weird, and you add into that, drama and unnecessary drama. They traded his best friend Gio Urshela shockingly right before opening day this year. And for him to have responded in this way, he was benched ostensibly on opening day.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily merit-based. Somebody had to sit. Too many guys for not enough space. But he's the guy they chose. So clearly their belief in him was wavering. At a certain point, he came off the bench and hit a big sac fly in that opening day game, but he didn't start it. Ironically, DJ LeMahieu didn't start opening day 2019 either. And Gleyber doesn't start opening day 2022. And basically by the same point in time, they're among the team's most important players.
Yeah.
I think let's talk about the position switch stuff a little bit, just because it did crop up again this week. There was a tweet that sort of, makes you laugh because of how logically obvious it is. They played Joey Gallo in right in the first game of this series. They're playing him in right again today. His first game of this series is arguably the most comfortable he's looked all year. And the reason behind that is he is a right fielder. That's his position. That's where he won the Gold Glove. You broke it down. He's played a lot of left field. So it's not like he doesn't have a lot of experience in left field, but he has never looked as comfortable as he did in all facets of the game, racing in, making a great catch on a looping pop-up in foul territory, avoiding the wall for the first out of that game, looping a single in his first AB, taking a clutch walk and bat flipping, ripping one later, scoring from first on a LeMahieu double down the line, which take your home runs. Give me an aesthetically pleasing LeMahieu scoop double down the left field line over anything. It's the most beautiful swing hit combo in baseball. Gallo looked great again, and so it makes you just he's starting in right field again today, and he walked his first at bat. He's coming up. How ironic. Joey Gallo at the plate now with runner in scoring position and 2 outs. It's just it makes you go, wait. We've been playing people out of position. Why? We traded for Joey Gallo to play not right field. Why? And they did an interview with him before this game too, where he was like, Yeah, I love right field. Like, it's, I think I've done pretty good there in the past. Like, I'll play left, I'll play center, I'll play the infield, whatever they want me to do. But yeah, I mean, and it's just so obvious that he's here for whatever they want, but he should be a right fielder. Wherever he lands next, he'll be a right fielder. So Gleyber Torres came up a shortstop, performed worse at shortstop, ends up getting pigeonholed back at shortstop. It wastes 2 years of our lives. Then he gets placed back at second base and pays immediate dividends. Gallo, unfortunately, has popped out. But that's 2 times in the last, several cycles where somebody's at the wrong position. Could they play that position? Sure. Are they in the right place? No. And then as soon as they move, they look better, and it makes you go, wait, well, what were the Yankees thinking? And that was just the plan, to do something and hope that the person who's not being consulted is fine and accepting of what you're doing. I'm sure Gallo knew he wasn't taking right field from Aaron Judge. It's not great that Aaron Judge now has to play a ton of center field. But all of this being said, all extenuating circumstances aside, that's 2 players at the wrong position in 2 years. It didn't work either time. We don't have enough data to know if Gallo's going to be back to being Texas Gallo playing right, but Gleyber's back to 2019 Gleyber essentially playing second already.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with this is, like, technically the Yankees did not make the wrong decision. Gleyber Torres came up as a shortstop, so they're like, oh, this guy could be the shortstop of the future. That makes sense. Joey Gallo played 239 of his 437 career games in the outfield in left field, and he was fine. Not 98.2 fielding percentage, like that gets the job done. So you saw the success of him in right field, and you're like, oh, maybe this could be something. But, like, also he plays a ton of left field, so, like, that could work too. Logically, you look at the career numbers and you look at what he was able to produce, and you're like, okay, we can make this work. We have an all-world player in right field. We have a center fielder in Aaron Hicks, and we can, last year you could use Brett Gardner there, and you could use Tim LaCastro there if you need to. And then you have this versatility that would work. But now it's clear Gallo is more comfortable in right. It's clear Gleyber Torres is comfortable at second, which makes you wonder, were the proper conversations had once again? You bring Joey Gallo in and you're like, hey, man, you're going to play a ton of left field. Does he say, okay, sure, it's great to be a Yankee, I'm going to play a ton of left field? Or did he say, I haven't played a whole lot of left field over the last couple of years, and I kind of like right better. Is there anything we can work here? Can we fix something? You're right. He probably didn't. Maybe he didn't say anything because it's like, Aaron Judge is right field. What pull do I have there? I have absolutely none. But now it's interesting. Now it's interesting because Aaron Hicks is so bad that we talked last episode about there being no recourse here. The recourse is you trade Gallo, you put Hicks as the 4th outfielder on the bench,
plopped.
You bring back Brett Gardner, or you trade for somebody else, and you roll with that configuration. Now, is it crazy to make Judge a starting center fielder, Gallo right field, and then cycle whoever out of left, whether it's Stanton, whether it's LaCastro, whether it's Hicks? I don't know. Hicks doesn't particularly look good there, so that
Gardner, Benintendi.
Yeah. Trade acquisitions too. Like, it gives you an ability to maybe get Judge out. Maybe Judge plays more center field, and then there are days where he's off his feet DHing, and Stanton's in left and Hicks plays center. Or maybe Gallo gets a day in left and we can swallow that pill for one day a week. I don't know. But you look at the situation from, a perspective where you're trying to benefit all parties. This benefits, I know the Yankees are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, but if Aaron Judge can head into free agency saying, I'm also a center fielder, that increases his price. I know it doesn't help the Yankees, but if the Yankees are trying to do good by their best player and also willing to pay their best player, and trying to win this year, maybe this is the move. Maybe it's Gallo and right. You see, if Gallo's bat returns to average, if Gallo is if Gallo's OPSing near 800 and OPS plusing 105, you're looking at a completely different lineup. Yeah. Because he goes from a black hole to somebody who can actually do something. That keeps the train chugging along, because you have a lot of other names in this lineup who hit aggressively, who can get on base, and who can hit in clutch moments. So I think that's worth thinking about for the rest of the year. If you mostly play Judge in center field and then give him ample time to be off his feet at DH, which you might not want to do because of Stanton's injury issue at the moment. I don't know. It's tough to juggle, but it could be a long-term solution.
It depends how much Stanton you're getting to.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't be shocked if you see some Judge DH Stanton bench rest recuperation days. At a little higher frequency. I mean, you need those anyway. You need Stanton for the end of the season more than you need Stanton for the middle of the summer. It's fun to watch Giancarlo Stanton. Never want to see him get benched. But if he's going to be dealing with ankle inflammation or soreness, or he also had a calf issue, we thought he yanked it out of place when he got down, swung and missed. You're going to have to do Giancarlo Stanton maintenance. And if you're going to start Aaron Judge in center, you're going to have to do Aaron Judge maintenance. There was a time in the past week where I was just like, Brett Gardner, okay, instead of like trying to fight against Brett Gardner. Like, I don't think Brett Gardner should be your big time acquisition. It is funny that they've raced out to their hottest start in decades. The first year Brett Gardner is not on the team. I don't think that means anything, but it is humorous to mention. Juan Lagares, man, he's killing us. 2-out double for Juan Lagares. Cool. And I honestly, this week for the first time in a long time, just like kind of looked at the name Brett Gardner and was like, maybe. Honestly, maybe. They do need outfield depth. They do need help. Aaron Hicks. I don't know if there's a major league team that would release Aaron Hicks. There's certainly more years on that contract than the Mets and Cano. The Mets would be the only team that I think would be willing to bite that financial bullet, which isn't even that much, but just getting rid of a distressed asset who, like, I have no problem with Aaron Hicks being a fourth outfielder on this team at this point in time. No. I can't really look at the roster and just be like, send Hicks, anywhere else. I'm sick of watching the madness, but if you just tell me he's not going to be starting and he's not going to be factoring into this lineup on a regular basis, that's fine with me. But yeah, I did for the first time in a long time think Gallo and right, Brett Gardner and left. I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm not like grabbing pom-poms, but I'm not rolling my eyes. Talk about rolling eyes. Let's talk about Josh Donaldson, who showed up on Wednesday. And I don't know about you, but this was sort of the moment to me when, when he hits the IL with shoulder stiffness or whatever he had, you're sort of like, all right, take your time. He goes on the COVID IL, doesn't have COVID. He gets his 1-game suspension and he hits the IL with shoulder soreness. You're kind of like, all right, this is the moment when this kind of blows over a little bit. Take your rest and recuperation now. And we won't forget about what happened, but when you come back, the focus will not be on what happened.
Yes.
And then he shows up yesterday during the pre-rain out period, does some media availability for some reason. And that was the moment it hit me like, oh, wait, it's still weird. Like, I still feel weird about Josh Donaldson. And it was weird. It's weird remembering he's going to have to be in the lineup. It's weird. Like that it is now weird that he disappeared for so long immediately after the stuff went down. And then, of course, it was weird because he decided to talk about it and say he was sort of, a little hurt that the Yankees didn't have his back in this whole thing, which I don't really know what he wanted from them. It's not like they ripped him a new one after he left. It's not like Aaron Judge got in front of the media and said, Josh Donaldson's not welcome in my clubhouse. And we don't know what happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But Aaron Boone just said, I think he made a mistake, which fair, I think he made a mistake as well.
The fairest thing you could say.
Yeah. Like Tony La Russa said, Josh Donaldson's racist. And Aaron Boone said, Josh Donaldson made a mistake. Certainly a light touch. Aaron Judge said, I don't think there's a place for that. He crossed the line. Again, light rebuke. And Judge's comment also included a line that was like, he handled it right behind the scenes. He had the tough conversation with us in the clubhouse. We all talked through it. And then, so that made you think, okay, the team is still, they're not fractured. They had the conversation with Josh Donaldson. And then yesterday, Donaldson saying, like, every team I've ever been on has wanted to extend me. I think locker room chemistry is a huge part of winning. I do too, man. But I thought you guys had that. What happened? Did you not have that? Because it sounded like you did. And if you're that upset about Judge just kind of saying I wouldn't have done that, then your sort of your feelings. I don't know. Facts don't care about your feelings, Josh. I guess. What was your take on this situation?
Yankees PR team, anybody home? Why the fuck is this guy the only guy talking to the media yesterday? He's not even back yet.
Who found him?
He's not even back yet. Why is he talking to the media? Why is he the only guy talking to the media? Why is he not? Look, this needs to be discussed. We don't want to keep discussing this. We don't want to defend Josh Donaldson. It doesn't need to be defended. We don't want to have to make this bigger than it already is. But we do need to address the nuances of it. Racial undertones for sure. Josh Donaldson probably just not really sensitive on that front and thought it was okay to say that over and over again without there being, because there wasn't any repercussions and because nobody really stood up to him aside from Tim Anderson saying 3 years ago that I don't want to talk to you ever again. Classic in Donaldson's, maybe warped brain. Oh, I got to him. I was shit talking him and now I got under his skin. So I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
An idiot who needs to learn. Plenty of people have been there. So we can discuss the nuances about this all day. Don't want to defend him. Also don't want to make this bigger than it is. But why is he talking about this still? Why has there not been any filter on him from the Yankees PR team about any of this? He already created enough of a stir with his actions. And with the White Sox getting as angry as they did with this, there was no reason now to come out and now flip it back on your teammates. Because guess what? Your manager is the boss. So your manager can say whatever he wants about you, and you don't really have an answer to that. Your teammate, Aaron Judge, who is also part black, can say what he wants about it because it clearly made him feel a certain way because of who he is. So Aaron Judge also offered like you said, a sort of an olive branch of support there by saying, hey, you know what? It was a bad call by him, but we talked about it behind the scenes. It was a constructive conversation. We're good. Now, I don't know where he felt the Yankees didn't support him, but even if they didn't support him, which was not seen in the public eye, you don't go back and start talking about this again. So now you're opening a new can of worms talking about, oh, I said something shitty. And instead of my teammates blindly backing me for saying something shitty, they didn't. And now I kind of feel weird about it. There's no reason Josh Donaldson should be talking about this again or answering these questions without having some sort of filter on him when it comes to discussing the team, when it comes to discussing the organization, and when it comes to discussing his manager or, his peers, whatever it is. He shouldn't be, he tried to defend what he said. I don't understand what I incited, which clearly means he still doesn't get it. So maybe he shouldn't be talking to the media about this. You're right. It feels weird. I kind of don't really, after that, I don't really want him back here. I don't want more of this because we don't need more of this in general. And, from a societal standpoint, this is not a constructive conversation to have again. We got there, we're past it. He needs to learn. I don't want to hear about his defenses anymore. He got out of this pretty scot-free. 1 game suspension. You got a slap on the wrist. People kind of think you're an asshole now, but everyone's kind of always thought you were an asshole, so it doesn't really matter. The only good thing that came out of this is the criticism of Liam Hendricks, who I think is a complete phony, a guy who could kick my ass up and down the street, but he's always a guy, once again, a Donaldson-esque guy, always talking shit, always boasting, always being loud and celebratory, like when it doesn't even call for it. And Donaldson said he was confused when he's been approached by Hendricks multiple times since they haven't been teammates. And Donaldson said he dapped him up, asked him how he is. Doesn't say anything inflammatory. Meanwhile, he has this post-game interview. Well, he has the post-game interview last year saying he never liked Josh Donaldson. They were teammates in Oakland and he hated him. And then you have last year, again, when he further drove that point home when Donaldson talked trash to Dylan Cease or whoever it was, or Lucas Giolito. And then this year, he goes off, unfiltered NSFW interview, calling him a bullshitter, calling him a douchebag, or that was Joe Kelly, I'm sorry. Yeah. Nonetheless, saying very, very inflammatory things and making it seem like he's backed it up before. Like, I don't like this guy. This guy knows I don't like this guy. And then Donaldson maybe he's lying. I don't know. Comes out and says it's weird. This guy came up to me and said, "What's up?" And I gave him a high five, and then that was it. So I'd like to see an exposure of Liam Hendriks kind of being a phony, but that's the only positive here. Otherwise, Donaldson shouldn't be talking about this. Donaldson shouldn't be defending any of his actions. Donaldson shouldn't be questioning any of his teammates who think that he did something wrong. This is not his decision to make. This is everybody else's decision to make in regards to how the comment was taken by Tim Anderson and respecting how he feels. So Yankees PR team, again, we've had many issues with you. We still have a lot of issues with you. And now this, I don't know how this slips through the cracks. I really don't.
I don't get it at all. Liam Hendriks, we own him, so I don't really.
Yeah, that too.
I am automatically in favor of anything that makes Liam Hendriks look like maybe he's a little two-faced.
Yeah.
I don't doubt at all that he, saw Donaldson in the park. Hi, what's up, man? Hey, Josh, how are you? I love to scream after saves. Do you like it when I scream? Donaldson's like, yeah, man, it's awesome. He's like, do you hear me scream? He's like, yes, we all heard you scream. The stadium is empty. The legend of Jose Trevino just knocked out Shohei Ohtani with a single. So let's just wrap up this podcast by just giving Jose a little bit of love for game one, for this game so far, when he just knocked one through the hole. Ohtani out in the middle of the fourth. Maybe you're trying to delay this game to get to the rain a little faster. Joe Madden, 3D chess, 4D chess. All chess is 3D. Jose Trevino has been not just a solid catcher and someone who we barely knew anything about when he arrived. He already has established himself as someone who should be starting almost every day. Obviously, catchers don't start every day, so you're going to see Higashioka twice a week at least. But this shouldn't be a platoon. This should be Jose Trevino as your starter and Kyle Higashioka as your backup, a role he's used to. That's one. Two, he's already delivered an indelible moment this season. The walk-off game for his father's birthday was unbelievable. But don't let that just get isolated as, this is, what a random guy to have a random thing happen to him. Because Jose Trevino has been legitimately great in all facets of the game. He's sort of like, it's almost like if you're bored of saying Nestor Cortez is cute, because he's now just so obviously one of the best pitchers in the American League and has been for a year. Jose Trevino is the one you've moved on to. He was at MLB doing TikToks this week. Like, people are now like, we need a new, like, unexpected cute Yankee, and they've chosen Jose Trevino. But he's been legitimately great. He leads all catchers in framing runs as of the end. I don't know if he got lapped, but as of the end of play on Tuesday night, shockingly enough, one of the other most valuable catchers of baseball is Jonah Heim, who took over for him when he was traded from Texas to New York. That's also interesting. But Trevino's 110 WRC plus after that game is one of the best catcher marks in baseball. Gary Sanchez, who's been a half catcher, half DH so far this year, was at 120 at the end of play on Tuesday, and Trevino's at 110. So slightly worse, but still well above average offense from Trevino. Incredible defense. And he scored in Tuesday's game, the sixth run of the game, on a contact play, second and third, one out, grounder from DJ LeMahieu to second, perfectly executed by the second baseman. It was a rip grounder. I don't begrudge him for breaking, but that contact play never works. It shouldn't have worked. He should be out by 10 feet. And somehow approaching the plate, he dips his body out of the way, doesn't leave the baseline, overruns the plate, comes back, beats Max Stassi to the bag with his hand. I have never seen anybody do that without being called out. I'm also coming off a couple weeks of Rangers playoff games where there's a foot over the toe over the line and a goal gets called offside. The Rangers have lost 6 straight replay reviews in the playoffs. So I watched that and I go, there's no way that stands. I don't even know what rule you can challenge that on, but that's way too cool. If that was possible, people would be doing that all the time. And apparently Jose Trevino somehow managed to contort his body and successfully not run out of the baseline, but evade the catcher in midair and get back to the plate, tag it for the 6th run in an eventual 9-1 win. One of the most incredible things I've ever seen. So every week there's something else this guy does. That first game of the series, it was all Jordan Montgomery. Obviously, Matt Carpenter hit a bomb. Jose Trevino got a back pick at first, caught Montgomery, led him to another 7-inning start, hit a homer late in that game and had this incredible slide. He hadn't even really done much by until the 5th or 6th inning and ended up owning the entire back half of the game and the game-ending narrative. So just standing ovation for him yet again. And I hope we get to end every pod every week by saying thank you to Jose Trevino. Marwin Gonzalez picking him up, putting him down. Aaron Hicks scores.
Love it.
You scoring? You staying at third? What are you doing? You're staying at third, second and third.
That's a rip.
That's a rip.
Trevino's home run in that late in that 9-1 win too was on an 0-2 count, majestic, right off the barrel, flew into the left field seats.
One of those that looked like a tennis home run, like a ball going off a racket, just like stays on the bat longer than you think it's going to, and then you just like feed it out to the left field seats where you want it.
Really cool. My biggest thing with Trevino is the energy. I love that, the positive energy, the positive demeanor, the good body language, the enthusiasm to just do everything. Aaron Boone talked earlier this year about his commitment to defensive game plans, which obviously plays a role in his framing outs and outs above average behind the plate. But finally, dude, we get a guy who like opposing teams can't hate. If you're a Red Sox fan and you hate Jose Trevino, okay, then you're just you probably just have a dark soul, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dark souls out there. And I get it. We've all been there before, but there's no talking shit on Jose Trevino. He's one of those guys who's kind of just, he's impervious to that. He's such a likable guy. He is very jovial. He's always saying the right things. He's positive reinforcement constantly. Wears his emotion on his sleeve in the best way possible. For me, that affects how somebody can actually produce on the field. Especially when you're surrounded by superior talent. Trevino, I criticized the trade because Albert Abreu, who, by the way, folks, DFA'd by the Rangers, so he is no longer on the Rangers. So
we can have him. We can have him if we want.
Yeah, the Yankees already won this trade, regardless of what Trevino had done. In the month of April, it didn't matter. The Yankees got themselves a backup catcher for nothing. But yeah, initially I'm like, great. Albert Abreu finally comes along, and then you acquire a guy in Ben Rortvedt who you never really heard of before, and we don't really know what is possible from him, and then he gets injured, and then you have to go out and get another backup catcher, and then you trade a slightly appreciating asset and a guy you've had since 2017 who never really came around but now finally started to come around. So there was, I think my frustration there was probably a little bit exaggerated, but it was valid because you're like, we need bullpen help. We need arms. And now we need another backup catcher because you traded for one who never really proved or done anything. And now he's injured. But now that's the best trade of the offseason. It's probably going to be the best move that the Yankees maybe make all year. Not really, exaggerating on that front either. The Yankees needed defense behind the plate. They needed entertainment from a pre and post game standpoint. You saw the last 2 years, you didn't want to watch any post-game interview. The pre-game interviews, you were like, what is going on here? What am I watching? I don't understand this. The more and more Jose Trevino succeeds and does something of note, the more and more you're going to see him in the public eye, getting fetched by reporters after the game to talk to, being approached in the locker room, literally whatever it is, that has a positive impact well beyond the box score. It has to deal with morale based in just the locker room and in the fan base, which the fan base morale is arguably the most, the second most important. You have fans with energy coming to the park every night, excited to watch guys who shouldn't matter, like Jose Trevino. No offense to him. He's a backup level catcher, but like you should be going to the park to see Giancarlo Stanton, to see Aaron Judge, which people are still doing. But now Jose Trevino is now a topic of conversation, and that's amazing. Yeah. Simply amazing.
And lifelong Yankee fan. He's got the tweets from 2013. And does that matter? I mean, look, it's silly, but I always say, maybe incorrectly, maybe correctly, it always feels like the guys who want to go to Boston and be Red Sox believe in the Red Sox culture. And it feels like the guys who want to go to New York and be Yankees want money. Yep. It's just always sort of felt that way. Like I've always wanted to be Yankee is code for I want cash, but not necessarily I grew up a Yankee fan. Like Garrett Cole, he showed you the sign. We've seen the sign, but he also is making $325 million. Yeah. And so Jose Trevino, making pre-art money, bona fide Yankee cred, like it's all on the social media page. We've all seen it. Like that means something to me too. That is it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Red Sox fans chanting Yankee suck.
Oh, let's do it quick. We got the bases loaded, so we might as well stay on live.
Yeah, down 1-0 in the ninth inning against the Cincinnati Reds, who are bad. that the Red Sox ultimately lost that game to the Reds, which was cool. I liked that. That sent the Red Sox record during the Red Sox are in the middle of a period I call the automatic 10-game winning streak, which I had circled on the calendar all year. When they were way under 500, I was like, well, let's see how far over 500 they are when the automatic 10-game winning streak is over. 5 at home against the Orioles, including a doubleheader, 2 against the Reds at home as well, and then 3 in Oakland, 3 teams that are ostensibly not trying. They lose that series to Baltimore, insane. They lose the first game to the Reds and split that little 2-gamer, and they're now 3-4. So that's not 10 wins. In fact, that's only 3 out of 7 opportunities. Pretty cool. And in that game, it's 1-0 in the 9th, and you get a stadium-wide Yankees suck chant from the Boston Red Sox, who are, again, losing the game to the team that was the worst team in baseball, and by winning that game, moved up and became the second worst team in baseball, bypassing the Royals. And the Red Sox were 10.5 games behind the Yankees at that point. By the end of the night, it was 11.5. So congrats. It did actually get worse at that juncture. But you guys have to figure it out. I don't think any Boston Red Sox fans are still watching or listening right now. I don't think you guys got 47 minutes into a Yankee pod talking about game 1 of a 3-game Angels set. But in case you did, just figure it out. Just that can't be you. That's not allowed to be you.
No,
you can't do that.
No, it's we talk about this all the time. We saw it, and the Mets fans do it. It's obviously the sewage sect of these fans.
Sludge.
But you get a stadium-wide chant. It's just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing for everybody. And you can hate opposing teams. You can hate opposing players. And Red Sox, it's just annoying because Red Sox fans are the rent-free people. That's where, like, I mean, I don't know where rent-free originated, but if you gave me a multiple choice test and you gave me 4 cities and one of them was Boston, that would be my guess for the $1 million question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I wouldn't even use a lifeline.
They tweet about you respond about them, they say rent-free. That's
exactly
how it goes.
So they don't even know. They invented it and they also don't know how it works. But yeah, it's embarrassing to not just, it's like I don't even know. I don't even know what it's like. I had an analogy and now I don't even care to say it.
It's like when the dumbest people on earth do the dumbest possible thing.
It's just, you're clearly so, it's just the classic, like it's the psychology aspect of it. It's like, you clearly just feel bad about who you are and what you're doing. So you need to try to make somebody else feel bad about who they are and what they're doing. I don't know why they think they can make Yankees fans haven't felt this good in 2.5 years, probably 2.5 years, closer to 3. 2.5 years, I think, is a safe estimate. Hadn't felt that good in 2.5 years. So I don't know who you think you're bringing down, especially New York people, fairly, known to be strong folk. Not really, words are not going to take these people down. So to just do that is more of just like, now I have to deal with this on my timeline, and respond to people who don't know what they're talking about and don't understand how to just act properly in any setting. If we're playing each other, fucking whole 1 through 9, Yankees suck. I don't give a shit. Reds, losing to the Reds, Trevor Story, you're the most hated guy in the world, now the best player ever, striking out to end the game with the winning runs aboard. That's it. I mean, you're setting yourself up to look worse than you already do because there is no way to recover from that. Even if you win that game, you're still 10 back. So I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking, but it's embarrassing our culture. It's embarrassing our country. And it's, you love America. I know you guys love America. It's Boston. It's where it all happened, man. Yeah. So have some respect for your country. I think that's really what I'm trying to say here.
The Celtics are in the NBA Finals.
I forgot about that.
Finals. I mean, that was the day after the Celtics made the NBA Finals. How about a little let's go Celtics?
Yeah.
How about anything? Like, isn't the Boston sports ethos that, like, all the teams feed off each other, and when one's winning, they're
against the world, bro.
The Patriots go to the Celtics playoff games, and Damian Harrisler's at the first pitch at the Red Sox, and, like, the city of champs because champs are feeding champs, and then all of a sudden it's Yankees suck. on the day after you go to the literal NBA Finals and your baseball team's under 500 in the middle of the automatic 10-game winning streak too. Would you look at that? That is it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm glad we got that in. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review. Drop us a mailbag question. We will be more than happy to answer that question alongside your review. You will not be hearing from us next Tuesday. We are off, but we will be back on Thursday to take you through the action once more. God, these live day game podcasts, I don't like the energy of staring at the television and talking to you folks, but we do it. We do it for the culture. We do it for the New York Yankees. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for people to say some shit to me because I love it. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. We got plenty of content there for you. That is a fly out for Gleyber Torres.
That was a bad job. Second and third, no outs. Top of the line, no additional.
4-0 Yanks. What was that? The end of the fourth. Okay, cool.
You need
but head on over to yanksgoyard.com. We got content there for you. Our bylines front and center. Talk to us on the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. And until then, folks, have yourselves a great weekend. Weather's turning here in New York. It's hot and it ain't going away. Get that tan on, get that sweat out. We'll talk to you a week from today. Take care, everyone.
Yes, we will. Goodbye, y'all.